Unemployment isn't a choice for a lot of us neurodivergent people. It's not that we don't want a job. We very much would love to work a job. It's that we can't work a job. Unemployment is largely seen as lazy, no matter who you are. Unless you physically look like you can't work, you are not excused. So my history with employment is a very intense history. Since leaving school, I have walked out of about 15 jobs. Most of those jobs I lasted less than a week, some of them a little bit longer. But it was always the same issue. Didn't matter what the job was. I would kind of go into like a hyper focus for the first few weeks or even months of the job. And then I would burn myself out and I would be drinking that much or managing my mental health so poorly I would eventually have a mental breakdown and leave. And this happened over 15 times, including education. And it took best part of over a decade to actually take this seriously. I was torturing myself and trying to live a life that was just unsustainable. It wasn't healthy and it wasn't in my best interest. But because of the pressure and the stigma, I kept on going, I kept trying. I was pushed by friends, family, even myself into just trying to stick a normal job. So, where does the stigma come from if you're suffering from guilt around unemployment? The stigma comes from society. It's how we are socialized. Even as far back as I can remember, in school, they ask you questions like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And, you know, are you going to pick a trade? Like, what subjects do you like? It's very much, you are programmed to go to a certain place 5 days a week, usually wear a suit and tie or a jumper if you're a school child in England. You're basically conditioned into working 9-to-5 job. And a lot of people thrive on a 9-to-5 job. And a lot of people hate working 9-to-5 job. But if you have a disability, like I do, it's not a matter of enduring it or hating it. It will kill you. It will literally kill you if you have autism or other neurological disorders that affect your ability to work safely. Meltdowns, panic attacks are real and they're brutal. I think the job centre has been the worst for bullying and trying to pressure me into doing jobs I can't do. Every time I'd have a job centre appointment between jobs, they'd threaten to take away my very small monthly payment if I wasn't going to interviews that they'd set up for me, or they'd have a very clear idea in their head of what I should be doing. And if I objected to that or said, well, actually, retail work causes serious distress, they were brutal. They really thought that I was doing this out of disobedience. They didn't realize that my disability was very serious just because they couldn't see it. And I have friends who are in a similar position where, because they are normal passing, they are absolutely slated by people around them for not, contributing enough, whatever that means. Because an office job where you input data is really contributing to society any more than not working. I don't know. But there's a lot of shame and guilt and stigma around unemployment. And I was guilty of this myself. I was brought up in a household where, unemployment was just seen as lazy. It was just the way it was. That's the way it was pushed. Working class people are programmed to turn against people who aren't pulling their weight. And it's this absolute joke. People on benefits take up a minute percentage of the government pool, and I'm not even going to get into that. The stigma is absolutely crushing, and people have worked themselves to death trying to do normal jobs. Someone I worked with at a supermarket had some undiagnosed mental health disorders, and they bullied him into doing overtime and night shifts. And he had a stroke. I think he was only 40, and he had an actual stroke because of stress. And he probably had some serious neurodivergent disability. I'm not sure if he was diagnosed or not, but he is permanently physically disabled from this stroke. And he was about 40, and it was out of stress. Absolutely awful. So the job centre, society, workplaces, even your friends. I have been bullied and pressured by friends to find a job, or like, oh, you know, you no, don't be on the, you better not be on the door, mind. Like, I've had comments like that when I was between jobs, and it's absolutely awful. I'm sick of being asked, oh, have you found a job yet? No, like I'm taking a break. I'm taking a break and I'm working on self-employment. I'm not sitting around in a dark room like my job centre work coach assumed I was. I'm not sitting on TikTok. I don't have social media on my phone. I sit and read and look after myself. Being autistic, getting through the day is a full-time job. Brushing my teeth, eating, sleeping, these are actual tasks that I can't do alongside working a normal job. I have to either get through the day alive or work a 9 to 5. I can't do both. And I'm sure there's a lot of you out there who relate to this. It's a full-time job being mentally disabled. It's not disobedience. It's not lazy. I'm getting very heated, and I do apologize. It's a soft spot for me. So I'll just round this video off. I'll finish with the importance of reality, which is accepting your limitations, accepting who you are, and to not work yourself to death to appease people. And it is tough. I am making about £700 a month for the job centre. My rent for one bedroom, I'm sharing one bedroom, the rent is 400. The bills, electricity and food is probably another 400. I am scraping by. I'm not doing this because it's the easy way out. I am absolutely scraping by. Accept who you are, accept your limitations, and your well-being is the number one priority. Seek justice. If you need a diagnosis, seek a diagnosis. If you need support, if you need care workers, if you need validation, you can always speak to a GP, and no matter how much you get disheartened and discouraged, just keep pushing, get justice for yourself. And thank you so much for watching. I love and appreciate every one of you who watch these videos, and I'll be making more of these. Goodbye. Look after yourselves. Peace.